The cold silence of deep space stretched endlessly beyond the sensors of Earth's monitoring stations. For centuries, humans had explored cautiously, charting stars and planets, sending probes to distant worlds, and dreaming of reaching beyond the borders of their solar system. Yet, nothing had prepared them for what appeared on the edge of the Kari sector, a place long considered desolate and dangerous. A massive anomaly had been detected, a structure so vast it warped the very space around it, a fortress that seemed alive, humming with energy, and bristling with weapons that defied every human understanding. The first report came from the automated reconnaissance drone, sent to chart the sector. Its instruments had picked up unusual energy signatures, unlike anything recorded before. Dr. Elena Myrov, the lead astrophysicist at Earth's Deep Space Observation Center, stared at the screens in disbelief. This is no asteroid," she whispered. "It's enormous, artificial, and heavily fortified." Her words trembled in the sterile air of the observation deck. She ran simulations over and over, checking for errors, but the readings remained consistent. This was real. Captain Arjun Patel, in charge of the orbital command fleet, entered the room with measured steps, eyes scanning the data. He had seen many strange phenomena in his career, but nothing like this. "How long has it been here?" he asked, voice calm but tense. The analysts shook their heads. No detectable movement suggested the colony had remained hidden for decades, maybe centuries. And yet, the energy readings indicated it was active, alive. A civilization was maintaining this fortress. A civilization prepared for war. The first images of the colony were relayed to Earth in grainy holographic projections. Massive towers of black metal extended from its core, rotating shields glimmering with lethal energy, and cannons of unknown design that pulsed with power. Entire sections of the colony appeared to move independently, adjusting positions as if anticipating attacks before they happened. It was a fortress designed not just to defend, but to dominate. Humanity had never seen such technology. It dwarfed the largest battleships in Earth's fleet, outclassed the most advanced human weaponry, and radiated a silent confidence that only ancient mastery could create. Admiral Chin Wei, veteran of countless interstellar skirmishes, leaned forward, fingers pressed to the console. "This is beyond anything we can match," he said, voice low. "We are small, fragile, and they are not just prepared, they are expecting someone. They are ready for war." The room went silent. Every scientist, strategist, and officer felt the weight of his words. Humanity had long believed it was advancing, reaching for the stars, becoming a force to be reckoned with. But now, confronted by the unknown, that confidence seemed fragile, almost naive. The AI-assisted intelligence network scoured decades of intercepted transmissions, anomalies in subspace signals, and fragments of alien communication previously dismissed as background noise. Patterns began to emerge. The aliens had been active here for generations, quietly gathering resources, building infrastructure, and most importantly, developing weapons. Weapons of unimaginable scale and precision. Whole planets could be destroyed with single strikes. The fortress was more than a defensive installation. It was a declaration, a warning, a challenge to any who dared approach. In the observation room, Dr. Myrov felt a chill crawl down her spine. They are advanced beyond our imagination," she said softly, her hands trembling slightly. "Everything we have learned about physics, about energy manipulation, about interstellar warfare, it's all small compared to what they have. If they attack us, we would be annihilated before we even knew what hit us." Her words, though hushed, carried the heavy weight of realization. Humanity, which had dreamed of exploration and conquest among the stars, suddenly felt fragile and insignificant. Captain Patel walked to the center of the room, his gaze steady but distant. He had faced danger before, but never on this scale. "We cannot act blindly," he said firmly. "We are not invaders. We are observers. We must understand what we are facing before we make a move. One mistake, one miscalculation, and humanity may lose more than just ships or technology. We could lose entire systems." Every word resonated through the room. The officers, analysts and scientists understood. This was not a simulation. This was reality. And reality, in this case, was terrifying. Weeks passed as humanity scrambled to understand the colony. Observation satellites were deployed, each one risking detection. Sensors were calibrated to the finest precision, mapping the energy shields, analyzing weapon outputs, and attempting to understand alien behavior. Yet, every day brought more questions than answers. Every analysis suggested something more alarming. The aliens were not merely defending themselves, they were anticipating attacks. They were calculating strategies far beyond human reasoning. And worst of all, there was no indication of weakness. Humanity had stumbled upon a force that seemed perfect, unstoppable, and patient. The news leaked to the public. Earth's population watched screens with a mixture of awe and fear. The images of the alien fortress, massive and indestructible, were broadcast worldwide. Children stared at the flickering holograms in classrooms. Families huddled in living rooms, whispering theories and fears. "They think no one will come," one commentator said, voice tense. "They believe the galaxy is theirs alone. But what if humanity decides to respond?" Across the globe, hearts beat faster at the thought. This was no longer just a distant curiosity. This was a challenge, a test of humanity's courage, its ingenuity, and its resolve. In Earth's Fleet Command, Admiral Chun paced in front of massive screens, his face tight with tension. "We are small," he repeated, voice echoing in the empty command chamber. "We are fragile. And yet, that does not mean we will not act. Humanity has never backed down from impossible odds before. We will study them. We will plan. And when the time comes, we will show them that the people of Earth do not surrender." His words were firm, but inside, every strategist and officer knew the truth. The odds were staggering. The alien fortress could destroy their largest ships before they even entered range. Yet hope, stubborn and bright, burned in every human heart. The first unmanned probes approached the colony, slipping through the outer defenses with stealth technology. Images streamed back, revealing detail upon detail. Alien ships docked within massive bays, weapon arrays that glimmered with deadly energy, and corridors that seemed endless, stretching like the veins of a colossal organism. And then, sensors detected subtle signs of life. The aliens were present, alert, and aware. The fortress was not abandoned. It was alive, watching, waiting. Humanity was no longer observing empty structures. They were observing a prepared civilization. The tension in the Fleet Command was palpable. Every sensor reading, every calculation was a potential trigger for panic. Dr. Myrov stared at the latest data, fingers pressed to her lips. "They are aware of us," she said softly. "They have been watching for decades, maybe centuries, and they know we are here. Every movement, every probe, they have detected it." The room fell silent. Awareness implied planning, anticipation, and intent. Humanity had not stumbled upon a neutral system. It had stumbled into a predator's gaze. Captain Patel closed his eyes for a moment, letting the gravity of the situation sink in. He had always believed in humanity's courage, its ingenuity, its ability to rise above adversity. Yet facing this alien fortress, this civilization prepared for war and perfected in every way, even he felt the weight of fear. "We are small," he admitted softly, almost to himself. "But we are not nothing. We will learn. We will adapt. And one day, we will prove that humanity cannot be ignored." Outside the observation windows, stars glimmered coldly, indifferent to the lives, fears, and dreams of a single species. Yet humanity, fragile and small, stared back at the fortress with a determination that had defined their history. Against overwhelming odds, against fear that clawed at their hearts, humans had always endured. They had survived plagues, wars, and the vast indifference of the universe. And now, at the edge of the Kari sector, they faced perhaps the greatest challenge of all. A civilization so advanced it seemed untouchable, so prepared it seemed invincible, and yet humanity would not turn away. The first night passed without incident, But sleep brought no comfort. In every household, in every command center, in every observation post, humans dreamed of alien eyes watching, calculating, anticipating their next move. Fear and awe blended into a cocktail of emotion that no one could escape. Yet in the hearts of all humans, from the youngest cadet to the most seasoned admiral, a single thought burned brighter than fear. They were not alone. They had Earth, ingenuity, and courage. And against all odds, they would not back down. As dawn broke over Earth, transmitting light across millions of kilometers of space, a message was sent to the fleet. We observe, we prepare, and we will endure. It was simple, almost mundane, but in its brevity lay the truth of humanity. They were small, they were fragile, they were alone in the darkness. And yet, for the first time, they understood that courage, determination, and heart could make even the weakest stand against the greatest. The alien fortress remained silent, enormous, and unyielding. Energy pulsed across its surface, shields shimmered with lethal perfection, and weapons bristled in readiness. Humanity watched, studied, and waited. The first step in a story that would echo across the stars had been taken. And though they were small, though the odds seemed impossible, one truth burned brightly: they would not surrender. And somewhere, deep inside the alien colony, sensors detected the approach of the humans. Lights blinked, corridors shifted, and a civilization older and wiser than Earth began to focus on the tiny blue planet that dared to look back. The isolation had ended. The challenge had begun. Humanity's courage, heart, and determination would be tested like never before. And in the quiet, cold expanse of space, the first chapter of a battle that would define the galaxy began. Earth had woken to the news of the alien fortress at the edge of the Kari sector, and the world held its breath. Millions stared at the screens, at the glowing images of towers, weapons, and energy fields so vast and precise that they seemed almost alive. Fear rippled across nations, yet beneath that fear, a spark of determination ignited. Humanity, fragile and small, had been confronted by a force far beyond imagination, and yet it refused to shrink. The news agencies called it a crisis, a potential annihilation, a warning from the stars themselves, but Earth understood something more. This was a call to action. In the halls of the United Earth Council, leaders gathered for the first time in decades. Representatives of nations, scientists, military commanders, and diplomats stood together, tension thick in the air. The holographic projections of the alien fortress rotated in midair, showing weapon arrays, shield networks, and docking bays for massive ships. Every detail was precise. Every measure was calculated. The room fell silent as the images rotated slowly, showing humanity the scale of the threat they faced. Dr. Elena Myrov, still pale from the earlier discoveries, addressed the council. "We cannot ignore this," she said, voice trembling with both awe and urgency. "They have been preparing for decades, maybe centuries. The technology here surpasses anything we have. Every calculation shows we are at a disadvantage, and yet, we cannot remain passive. If we do nothing, we are not just threatened, we are vulnerable to annihilation." Her words echoed through the chamber, heavy and deliberate. Admiral Chun Wei stepped forward, his uniform immaculate, voice firm and commanding. "Passive observation will not protect us," he said. "We cannot wait for them to strike. Humanity must act, but carefully. Every decision matters. One misstep could mean the end of colonies, the loss of systems, perhaps even Earth itself. Yet, despite the danger, we must prepare. We must show that we are not afraid, that we will stand, that humanity does not back down." His words stirred a mixture of fear and pride in the room. The council debated for hours, weighing every option. Some argued for diplomacy, sending messages of peace and warnings, hoping to avoid conflict. Others argued for preparation, reinforcing fleets, upgrading weaponry, and readying every resource Earth could muster. Yet the debate was not just about tactics, it was about courage. Could humanity face a force that seemed invincible? Could a small, fragile species stand against a civilization that had mastered war, strategy, and technology far beyond their comprehension? Outside the council chambers, the people of Earth waited anxiously. Social networks buzzed with speculation, fear, and hope. Children asked questions their parents could barely answer. Families huddled together, watching news broadcasts that alternated between grim analysis and proud stories of humanity's past courage. In homes across the world, a single thought echoed. Humanity had been challenged, and it must rise to meet that challenge. Meanwhile, the fleets began to mobilize. Shipyards worked around the clock, constructing new vessels, upgrading old ones, and implementing technologies never before deployed. Pilots trained tirelessly, engineers tested weapons, and scientists worked feverishly to understand any advantage they could gain. Every corner of Earth, from underground bunkers to orbital command stations, pulsed with energy, purpose, and resolve. Humanity was preparing for a confrontation that could decide its place in the galaxy. Captain Arjun Patel watched the preparations from the flagship command bridge. His crew moved with precision, yet he could feel the tension in every glance, every movement. "We have the advantage of courage," he said softly to his executive officer. "We may not match their technology yet, but we have determination, ingenuity, and heart. That is something no weapon can measure, and it may be what carries us through." His voice carried a calm authority, yet beneath it, a deep awareness of the stakes. Every human under his command understood that failure would not just be personal, it could be species-wide. Dr. Myrov joined him on the bridge, pointing to the holographic display of the fortress. "We have to be ready for anything," she said. "We must understand their weapons, predict their movements, and innovate faster than they can respond. Every second counts. Every calculation could save lives. And if we fail, there may be no second chance." Her words, soft yet urgent, captured the tension and the courage of the moment. Humans were fragile, yes, but their spirit was unyielding. Back on Earth, families watched the news in quiet fear and pride. Stories of volunteers, scientists, and military cadets training for what could be humanity's first galactic battle circulated rapidly. People cried, whispered prayers, and yet also held their heads high. Humanity had faced crises before, from natural disasters to global conflicts, and each time, it had endured, adapted, and survived. Now, the stakes were cosmic. Humanity's courage, creativity, and resolve would be tested like never before. Weeks turned into months as Earth prepared. Supply lines were secured, fleets positioned strategically, and intelligence networks stretched to their limits. Every human with skill, courage, or knowledge was called to contribute. The world became a hive of activity, all focused on one objective: ensuring humanity would survive, and perhaps even triumph, against an unknown and terrifying force. During this time, emotional stories emerged. Pilots said goodbye to families they might never see again. Engineers worked through exhaustion, fueled by determination and hope. Scientists debated, argued, and cried over the impossible calculations, yet never gave up. Humanity was small and fragile, yet every heartbeat, every action, every decision carried the weight of courage that no technology could match. Then, as the fleets neared completion, Earth received the first indirect signals from the alien colony. Subtle pulses in subspace, energy signatures that shifted as if alive, indicated that the aliens were aware of the human presence and the preparations underway. Analysts confirmed what everyone feared. The aliens were watching, and they were ready to respond. Humanity was no longer just preparing. They were stepping into a predator's gaze. Captain Patel addressed his fleet, his voice steady yet filled with quiet emotion. "We have studied, we have prepared, and though the odds are against us, we will act with courage, intelligence, and unity. We are humans, we are small, but we have heart, ingenuity, and resilience. That is what will define us in the days ahead." Every officer, every pilot, and every crew member felt the truth in his words. They were fragile, yes, but they were human, and that meant something no alien calculation could ever fully measure. The first test of humanity's courage would come soon. As the fleets positioned themselves at the edge of the Kari sector, scanners detecting every motion, every energy pulse. A single truth emerged. The isolation had ended. Humanity was no longer a passive observer. The alien colony was vast, prepared, and deadly. But Earth's mightiest force was ready to step forward. Dr. Myrov watched the holographic displays of the alien fortress, her heart pounding. "They think no one will come," she whispered. "They think we are small. They think we are weak. But they do not understand what it means to be human." Her voice trembled with emotion, hope, and defiance. Humanity had been tested before in ways both physical and emotional, and each time they had endured. This was no different, only larger, only more dangerous. And yet, every human heart beat with the same certainty. They would not run. They would face the impossible. As the fleets moved into position, the alien fortress pulsed with energy, weapons bristling, shields rotating, and intelligence networks scanning every corner of the sector. Humanity, fragile and small, stared back with determination. The galaxy seemed vast, cold, and indifferent. Yet within that indifference burned a species willing to face the unimaginable. The first step in the story of courage, ingenuity, and heart had begun. Earth's mightiest force was ready. Humanity would no longer wait in fear. They would act, they would endure, and they would prove that even the smallest species could shine brightly in the darkness. And somewhere deep within the alien colony, sensors detected the approach of humanity's fleets. Lights blinked across massive structures, corridors shifted as if alive, and the aliens began to recognize a force they had underestimated. Humanity, fragile yet determined, had arrived. The call to arms had been answered, and the stage was set for a confrontation that would echo across the stars, testing courage, heart, and ingenuity in a way the galaxy had never seen. The isolation was over. Humanity was awake, aware, and prepared to show the galaxy that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit could not be broken. The silence of space was broken only by the faint hum of engines as Earth's first fleet approached the outer perimeter of the Kari sector. The ships gleamed against the black canvas of stars, sleek and advanced, but dwarfed by the looming presence of the alien colony. Each vessel carried hundreds of crew, all trained, all alert, all aware that the slightest miscalculation could mean annihilation. The fleet moved like a river of steel, precise, disciplined, and careful, yet beneath every calculated maneuver lay a pulse of fear, the fear of facing a civilization so far beyond anything humanity had encountered before. Captain Arjun Patel stood on the bridge of the flagship, eyes scanning the holographic displays of the alien fortress. The energy shields glowed like molten veins, rotating and shifting constantly, making direct observation nearly impossible. Weapon arrays stretched across the colony's surface, hundreds of meters high, their pulsing energy a constant reminder of the danger awaiting them. "They are ready," he said quietly, voice steady but heavy with tension. "And they are watching us. Every movement we make, they have calculated it. Every plan, they have predicted." His words hung in the air, charged with both dread and resolve. The first probes were dispatched, small, fast, and designed to evade detection. They skimmed the surface of the fortress, weaving through layers of shields, collecting data, and transmitting it back to the fleet. Analysts studied the streams of information in real time, attempting to understand the patterns of the alien defense systems. Dr. Elena Myrov, standing beside Patel, felt her heart tighten with every new reading. "They are learning from us," she whispered. "Every probe we send, every movement we make, it's being observed. They are not just defending, they are adapting." As the fleet moved closer, the alien colony finally reacted. Energy beams flared across space, scanning, probing, and testing the limits of humanity's defenses. The first warning shot, though non-lethal, illuminated the deadly precision of the alien technology. A single strike sliced through space hundreds of kilometers away, a warning to the humans that they were being observed, tested, and challenged. Fear rippled through the fleet, but so did determination. Humanity had not come this far to retreat. Lieutenant Maya Santos, piloting a reconnaissance fighter, gritted her teeth as her vessel weaved through the alien scans. They are fast, she muttered over the comms. Every maneuver we make, they are already responding. Her hands moved over the controls with precision born of hours of training. Yet the realization that the aliens had anticipated human strategies sent a shiver down her spine. Each heartbeat was a drum of tension, each breath a measure of courage. Humanity was small, fragile, and exposed, but they refused to yield. The first encounter escalated quickly. Alien drones emerged from the fortress, sleek and lethal, cutting through space with unnerving speed. They moved as if a single mind guided them, coordinating attacks with perfect timing. The fleet responded, firing defensive lasers, energy shields igniting, and evasive maneuvers executed with exact precision. Explosions lit up the darkness, debris scattering across the void. Yet the aliens remained relentless, observing, adapting, and countering each human move. Captain Patel's heart pounded as he watched the battle unfold. Every ship under his command represented lives, hopes, and dreams. The tension was unbearable. "Focus on defense," he ordered calmly, though his hands gripped the console. "Do not overextend. Protect the crew. We are here to learn, not to provoke total war." Yet, every officer nodded, understanding that in this first encounter, survival and information were the only victories that mattered. On Earth, families and citizens watched live broadcasts of the fleet's approach, their hearts tightening with every pulse of energy, every maneuver, every explosion. Children clung to their parents, eyes wide with fear and awe. Adults held their breath, some praying, some analyzing, some silently proud. Humanity had always faced danger, but never like this. Never had a species so small confronted a civilization so advanced, so prepared, and so merciless in its technological precision. Yet the world watched, inspired by the courage of those in space, believing in humanity's ingenuity and heart. The first casualties came silently. A small reconnaissance ship, caught off guard by a hidden energy pulse, was destroyed before it could signal the fleet. The crew watched in horror as the vessel disintegrated in a flare of light, reminding them of the stakes. Lieutenant Santos's voice trembled over the comms. "Stay sharp. This is only the beginning." Tears mingled with resolve. Each human aboard every vessel realized that fear was real, but courage had to override it. Humanity had come this far, and retreat was not an option. Dr. Myrov analyzed the alien patterns, her mind racing. "They are testing our reactions," she said urgently. "Every strike, every formation, every pause, they are learning. They are observing human ingenuity, decision-making, and fear. We must adapt faster than they anticipate. If we hesitate, we will be destroyed." The weight of responsibility pressed on every human in the fleet. They were not only fighting for survival, they were fighting to prove that humanity could stand, even against overwhelming odds. The battle intensified. Alien weapon arrays fired in complex sequences, shields shifted unpredictably, and the drones coordinated strikes with unnerving intelligence. Human pilots maneuvered with skill and bravery, dodging and countering, yet the aliens' advantage in technology and experience was undeniable. Still, every human move was deliberate, every action calculated, and every small victory. A single drone destroyed, a shield adaptation predicted, was celebrated as proof of human resilience. Captain Patel felt the tension crushing him, yet he refused to falter. "Communicate continuously," he ordered. "Share every observation. Every mistake is a lesson. Every success is a seed for strategy. Remember, they may be stronger, but we are humans. We adapt. We endure. We survive." His words spread through the fleet, steadying hearts, sharpening minds, and reminding everyone that courage was their greatest weapon. Hours passed in a blur of light, sound, and tension. Ships maneuvered, sensors recalibrated, and strategy evolved in real time. Humanity faced its first real test, exposed to an enemy whose power was unimaginable. Yet human determination shone through. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair minor damages mid-battle. Scientists calculated every variable, and pilots executed daring maneuvers that defied probability. Fear was constant, yet so was hope. Humanity's heart, courage, and ingenuity kept them in the fight. Finally, as the first encounter reached its peak, a realization spread among the fleet. The alien colony was formidable, but not invincible. Patterns emerged, weaknesses, however subtle, were detected, and the first glimmers of human strategy began to take shape. The battle had not been about destruction. It had been about understanding. Humanity had learned more about the fortress, its technology, and its approach than the aliens had likely anticipated. Every decision, every adaptation, every act of courage had been observed, measured, and recorded, and humanity had survived. Captain Patel exhaled slowly, allowing himself a brief moment of relief. "We made it through," he said softly, voice tinged with both exhaustion and pride. "Not without losses, but we learned, we observed, and we endured. Humanity is small, yes, but we are capable of courage, ingenuity, and endurance. That is our edge." The crew nodded, tears, exhaustion, and exhilaration mingling in their eyes. They had faced fear and survived. They had faced a civilization designed to crush them, and yet their spirit remained unbroken. On Earth, the broadcasts ended for the night, but the impact was lasting. Millions watched, silent, inspired, and awed. Humanity had faced the unknown, had taken the first step into a battle that could define the species' place in the galaxy. Fear and pride blended into a new understanding. Though humanity was small, fragile, and alone in the cosmic darkness, courage, determination, and ingenuity could illuminate even the blackest void. As the fleet retreated slightly to regroup, the alien colony pulsed with energy, sensors scanning, calculating, and observing. The first encounter was over, but it had left an indelible impression. Humanity had arrived, fragile yet defiant, small yet resilient, and determined to face the impossible. Somewhere deep inside the fortress, alien commanders acknowledged the humans' tenacity, calculating the next steps in a war they had thought would be easy. Humanity had made its presence known. Humanity had taken its first stand. And though fear lingered, hope and courage burned brighter. Humanity had faced the first encounter and survived. They had learned, adapted, and endured. They were small, fragile, and exposed, but they were human. And that, in a galaxy full of silent, calculating observers, made them dangerous. The stars stretched endlessly, cold and indifferent. Yet the humans in the fleet gazed forward, hearts pounding, ready for the trials ahead. The first encounter had proven one undeniable truth. The galaxy had underestimated Earth. The alien colony had counted on humanity to be weak, passive, and fearful, but the humans had survived. The call to arms had been answered. The challenge had begun. And humanity, small but unyielding, would continue to rise. The aftermath of the first encounter left the fleet in a tense silence. Ships glided slowly through the void, shields flickering, sensors recalibrating, engines humming softly as if the entire fleet were holding its collective breath. Human losses had been minimal, but each casualty weighed heavily on the hearts of every officer and crew member. Each life lost was a reminder of the enemy's power, a glimpse of what could happen if they made a single misstep. Humanity had survived, yes, but survival alone was no victory. They had to understand, adapt, and outthink a civilization that seemed perfect in every way. Captain Arjun Patel walked the bridge of the flagship, eyes scanning the fleet through the panoramic viewports. Ships moved with cautious precision, crews alert and tense, every sensor calibrated to perfection. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The first encounter had shown them the enemy's strength, but it had also revealed a small window of possibility. The aliens were powerful, precise, and prepared, but human ingenuity, creativity, and unpredictability could be their edge. Patel knew that to survive, they needed more than courage. They needed strategy, daring, and the ability to anticipate the unthinkable. In a quiet room aboard the flagship, Dr. Elena Myrov spread holographic projections of the alien fortress across the table. Every energy pulse, weapon rotation, shield pattern, and drone trajectory was meticulously mapped. "They anticipate every straightforward approach," she said, her voice steady despite exhaustion. "Every attack we attempted during the first encounter was predicted. Every maneuver countered. But there is a pattern, a rhythm. If we can understand it, even slightly, we can find a weakness. One flaw, one opening. That could be enough." Her hands hovered over the projections, tracing potential strategies. Every human in the room felt the tension. The thrill of possibility mingled with the fear of failure. Captain Patel joined her, leaning over the display. "We have to think differently," he said. "They expect us to fight like humans. Straightforward, predictable. But we are more than tactics and rules. We have creativity. We can adapt in ways they cannot predict. We can use misdirection, deception, and ingenuity. That is our advantage. That is what makes humanity dangerous." His words carried both reassurance and urgency. The humans around him nodded, understanding the truth. Courage alone would not win this fight. Only a mind sharper, more adaptable, and more daring than the enemy could tip the balance. Lieutenant Maya Santos, still shaken from her near miss during the first encounter, joined the strategy session. "We survived by chance," she said quietly, though her voice held determination. "We dodged, we adapted, we fought, and we lived. But next time we have to make the chance intentional. We have to plan it so that survival is no longer luck. It's a strategy." Her words resonated deeply. Humanity had survived the first encounter, yes, but only by reacting. Now they had to act proactively, to anticipate, and to manipulate the battlefield itself. The team worked for hours, studying the fortress from every angle, running thousands of simulations, and testing potential strategies in virtual space. Each plan was reviewed, debated, and revised. Emotional tension ran high. Every miscalculation could cost lives, and every human in the room felt the pressure of representing an entire species. Dr. Myrov's voice trembled at times, not from fear but from the enormity of what they were attempting. "We are small," she said softly, "but small does not mean powerless. Our minds, our hearts, our courage, they are our weapons. If we use them wisely, we can do what seems impossible." Outside the flagship, the fleet maintained a vigilant perimeter. Pilots and engineers adjusted their vessels, practicing maneuvers, analyzing energy fluctuations from the fortress, and preparing for scenarios that might arise at a moment's notice. Every human aboard every ship knew that the next encounter could be deadly. The alien colony had already proven its lethal precision. A single misstep could result in annihilation. And yet, hope burned brighter than fear. Humanity had survived once, they could do so again. Captain Patel called the officers together for a final briefing before the next operation. His voice was calm, authoritative, but laced with emotion. "We have survived our first encounter," he said. "That is a testament to our courage, our training, and our resilience. But survival is not enough. The enemy is strong, their defenses are precise, and their minds are calculating. We must be smarter, faster, and more adaptable. We must think beyond their expectations. Every decision we make will shape the outcome. Every act of courage must be guided by strategy." His gaze swept across the room, meeting every officer's eyes. "We are humans. We are small, yes, but we are clever, we are resourceful, and we will endure. That is our greatest weapon. That is what they cannot predict." As the fleet prepared for their next move, tension blended with determination. Engineers adjusted shields, recalibrated weapons, and reinforced critical systems. Pilots practiced daring maneuvers that relied on intuition, experience, and the willingness to risk everything. Scientists analyzed energy signatures, looking for patterns that could reveal the fortress's vulnerabilities. Every human knew that the coming encounter would be more than a test of courage. It would be a test of intellect, creativity, and heart. In the quiet moments before the operation, Captain Patel stood alone on the observation deck, staring at the alien fortress. Its towers glimmered, weapons pulsed, and shields shifted with lethal precision. The enemy was powerful, far beyond what humanity had faced before. Yet Patel felt something stirring in his chest, a fierce, unyielding pride. Humanity was fragile, yes, but they were daring, adaptable, and brave. They could survive, they could endure, and they could prevail if they used every advantage of their mind, their spirit, and their ingenuity. Dr. Myrov joined him quietly. "We are ready," she said softly, "not just to fight, but to think, to anticipate, to outsmart. They may be stronger, but we have heart, and that heart will guide every decision, every action, every move we make." Her words resonated in the silent bridge, echoing the unspoken truth of humanity. Courage without strategy was not enough, but courage guided by intelligence and ingenuity could defy the impossible. The fleet shifted into formation, each vessel moving with precision, guided by both data and instinct. Sensors scanned, shields flared, and engines pulsed with energy. Humanity was small, yes, and fragile, but in the minds of every officer, pilot, and scientist burned a spark of defiance. They would not retreat. They would not surrender. They would use every ounce of intelligence, every fragment of creativity, and every shred of courage to face the fortress again. Somewhere deep inside the alien colony, the sensors picked up the subtle shifts of human strategy. The aliens observed, calculated, and adapted, yet they had not anticipated one thing: the unpredictability of the human mind, the resilience of the human spirit, and the courage that refused to be measured or predicted. Humanity had learned, adapted, and survived once, and now they were preparing to strike back, not recklessly, but with careful, brilliant calculation. The strategist's mind had awakened. Humanity had taken its first step from reactive survival to proactive ingenuity. The fortress may have been vast, perfect, and deadly, but human creativity, courage, and intellect were unpredictable, unstoppable, and unyielding. And as the fleet moved closer to the alien colony, every human aboard every ship felt the truth in their hearts. Survival was no longer enough. They would endure, adapt, and outthink their enemy. They would prove that even the smallest species, armed with courage and intelligence, could challenge the impossible. The stars stretched endlessly around them, indifferent, vast, and infinite. Yet within that cold expanse, humanity's spark burned brighter than ever. They were small, yes, fragile, and facing a foe beyond imagining, but they were human, and that, in itself, was more powerful than any weapon. The stage was set. The first encounter had tested their courage. Now, their strategy would define their future. Humanity was ready to move, to outthink, and to survive. The battle of wits, courage, and heart had begun. The fleet hovered at the edge of the Kari sector, engines humming softly, weapons primed, and minds tense with anticipation. Every human aboard every ship understood the stakes. The alien fortress was more powerful, more precise, and more advanced than anything humanity had faced before. The first encounter had tested their courage. The strategist's mind had prepared them for the impossible. And now, a new challenge emerged. One that no one had predicted. Signals intercepted by Earth's intelligence network revealed anomalies, strange bursts of energy and subspace communication patterns that did not match the known alien forces. Dr. Elena Myrov studied the readings with growing excitement and caution. "These are not part of the fortress's defense grid," she said softly, fingers tracing the holographic projections. "They're external. Something else is here." Captain Arjun Patel leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "External? You mean another alien faction?" The thought sent a ripple of tension through the bridge. Humanity had faced one enemy already. Another, unknown force could tip the balance against them entirely. Yet, Dr. Myrov shook her head. "Not necessarily hostile," she said cautiously. "The patterns suggest caution, observation, perhaps even hesitation. They seem hesitant to engage directly. It's almost as if they are waiting for something, or someone." The fleet held its formation, sensors straining to pick up any movement from this unknown presence. Hours passed, tension building with every second, and then the first vessel appeared. It was smaller than the fortress ships, sleek and alien in design, but unlike the drones humanity had faced, it did not attack. Instead, it hovered near the outer perimeter, maintaining distance, scanning, observing. Its energy signature was complex, precise, but deliberately non-lethal. Lieutenant Maya Santos, piloting a reconnaissance craft, felt her heart pound. "They're watching," she whispered over the comms. "But they're not attacking." Admiral Chun Wei's face was tight with cautious optimism. "This could be an opportunity," he said, voice steady. "We are outmatched technologically, but we may not be alone. If they are not hostile, if we can gain allies, it could change everything. We must approach carefully, but we must approach." The officers nodded, understanding the delicate balance between risk and reward. Humanity had always been small, fragile, and underestimated, but it had also been clever, courageous, and capable of forming alliances when the stakes were highest. Captain Patel ordered a careful approach. Human ships moved in precise formation, shields up, engines humming with silent energy as they closed the distance. Communications were attempted, simple universal codes of peace and observation transmitted. Silence followed, stretching painfully across the void. Then, a pulse returned, slow, deliberate, and unmistakably intelligent. The unknown force was alive, aware, and responding. Dr. Myrov's eyes sparkled with awe. "They are sending a signal," she whispered. "Not of attack, but of observation. They are choosing to communicate." The realization sent waves of emotion through the command center. Humanity, small and fragile, had been recognized not as prey, but as a species worthy of attention. The unknown aliens were cautious, but they had noticed human courage, strategy, and ingenuity. The first direct communication arrived in the form of a holographic projection aboard the flagship. A figure emerged, humanoid yet alien, with delicate, translucent skin that shimmered with internal energy and eyes that radiated intelligence and curiosity. Its voice was soft but resonant, transmitted directly into the human comm network. "We have observed your species," it said. "Your courage, your resilience, and your ingenuity. You are remarkable. We oppose the fortress, as do many who have suffered under its rule. You have endured what we could not alone. Will you accept aid?" The room fell silent. Shock, disbelief, and cautious hope mingled in every mind. Dr. Myrov's hands trembled slightly as she processed the message. "Aid from them? After everything? We may not be alone." Captain Patel's eyes gleamed with determination. "It seems the galaxy is not entirely indifferent. There are others who oppose this fortress, who have survived its shadow, and they are willing to help us." The officers exchanged glances, a mixture of relief, caution, and awe. Humanity, small and fragile, had found an ally in the unlikeliest of places. The first joint operation was painstaking. Human engineers worked alongside alien technology, deciphering unfamiliar systems, adapting controls, and synchronizing weapon arrays. Pilots trained in tandem, learning each other's maneuvers and communication signals. Every second was fraught with tension. Missteps could be fatal, but every success, no matter how small, strengthened the fragile bond forming between species. Trust, fragile and untested, grew with each shared observation, each cooperative maneuver, and each narrow escape from enemy fire. Captain Patel observed the alliance forming with a mixture of pride and caution. "We are stronger together," he said softly. "But we must never forget that the enemy is powerful, precise, and relentless. Our survival, and theirs, depends on every decision, every action, and every heart willing to endure. Humanity has been small and alone for too long. Now we have allies, and together we may just stand a chance." The emotional weight of the alliance was palpable. Humans and their newfound allies shared stories of survival, whispered fears, and cautious hopes. Every human understood the risk. These aliens were strangers with customs, thoughts, and motives they barely comprehended. Yet the act of trust, simple, fragile, and courageous, bridged the gap. Humanity had survived by courage and ingenuity. Now, they would survive by cooperation and heart. Days passed as joint patrols scouted the outer perimeter of the fortress. Alien sensors complemented human scanners, weapon systems synchronized, and strategy sessions blended human creativity with alien precision. Every encounter with Fortress drones became a lesson in timing, anticipation, and coordination. Humanity had learned to adapt quickly, but now, guided by allies, they began to anticipate not just defense, but offense. Small victories built confidence, strengthened bonds, and nurtured hope where fear had dominated. Lieutenant Santos, flying alongside an alien pilot for the first time, felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. "I thought we were alone," she whispered to her co-pilot, an elegant alien with translucent wings shimmering in space. "I never imagined someone would be here to help us." The alien's eyes glimmered knowingly, and in that moment, the unspoken truth of cooperation, courage, and survival passed between them. Humanity, fragile and small, was no longer alone. Captain Patel addressed the fleet, his voice steady and resonant, filled with pride and cautious optimism. "We have found allies where we least expected. Together we can observe, learn, and adapt. We have endured alone. Now we endure with support. The Fortress is powerful, yes, but humanity is clever, courageous, and capable. And now we are no longer alone." The officers, engineers, and pilots felt a surge of hope. Courage alone had been their first weapon. Now, trust, cooperation, and heart had joined the fight. On Earth, the news of the alliance spread cautiously. Humanity had survived the first encounter, faced the Fortress with strategy, and now, in the unlikeliest of circumstances, gained allies among the stars. Citizens felt a spark of hope, families breathed more easily, and children dreamed once again of a future where humans were no longer fragile or insignificant, but part of a galaxy alive with life, courage, and possibility. The alien Fortress, sensing the formation of cooperation, pulsed with energy. Weapon arrays shifted, shields rotated, and intelligence systems recalibrated. The unknown aliens, once hesitant, were now committed to standing against the Fortress. Humanity, fragile and small, had gained a voice, a partner, and a strategy beyond what was possible alone. And in the quiet moments before the next engagement, Captain Patel stood on the observation deck, watching the stars stretch endlessly into the void. Humanity had survived alone. Humanity had endured the first encounter. And now, with allies, they faced the Fortress not just with courage, but with the promise of unity. Fear remained, yes, but hope burned brighter. The battle for survival had grown larger, fiercer, and infinitely more meaningful. Humanity would not falter. Humanity would not surrender. Humanity had allies, ingenuity, courage, and heart. And that, Captain Patel knew, would make all the difference. The stars were indifferent, the void cold and silent, yet humanity and its allies prepared to take the next step. Together, fragile but united, they would face the Fortress again. The challenge had grown, yes, but so had humanity's resolve. And somewhere deep inside the alien colony, sensors detected the presence of a new force. Humanity, no longer alone, no longer small, and prepared to endure in ways the Fortress had never imagined. The first true bond of survival had been forged. The stage for the next chapter was set. Humanity had allies. Humanity had hope. Humanity would endure. The fleet had never felt so alive, so tense, or so aware of the stakes. Humanity and its newfound allies hovered at the edge of the Kari sector, engines humming like a heartbeat in the void. Every ship, every pilot, every scientist, every strategist understood that the coming engagement could decide the fate of entire worlds. The alien Fortress loomed ahead, massive, impervious, and calculating. Yet something had shifted. For the first time, humanity did not feel entirely powerless. Every piece of intelligence, every narrow victory, every careful maneuver had taught them something the aliens did not expect. Humans could adapt. Humans could learn. Humans could endure, and with allies they could fight back. Captain Arjun Patel stood on the bridge of the flagship, eyes fixed on the rotating holographic image of the Fortress. Energy arrays pulsed with lethal precision. Shield layers shifted endlessly, and weapon emplacements bristled like the teeth of some cosmic predator. The first encounter had revealed the enemy's strength. The second had shown that humans could survive it. And now, as they prepared to strike with knowledge, preparation, and allies, the tide was slowly turning. Patel's jaw tightened. They had to act, but every move carried risk. Every maneuver could mean death, and yet hesitation was no longer an option. Humanity could no longer merely endure. They had to seize the advantage. Dr. Elena Myrov hovered over the data streams, analyzing every pulse, every shield rotation, every weapon discharge recorded from the previous encounters. "We know their patterns now," she whispered, voice trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement. "We can anticipate their movements. We can predict responses to a degree. It's still dangerous, more dangerous than anything we have faced. But we can exploit their timing, their rhythm. There is a chance, just a small one, but a chance nonetheless." Her fingers danced over the holographic display, highlighting weak points in the fortress's rotation patterns, timing gaps between weapon cycles, and shield fluctuations that could be leveraged. Lieutenant Maya Santos, piloting her fighter alongside an alien co-pilot, felt a thrill mixed with terror. "This is it," she whispered over comms. "We know how they move now. We know when to strike. Every maneuver, every move. If we follow the plan, we can turn the tide." Her hands moved with precision, executing maneuvers rehearsed countless times in simulations. Each action was delicate, calculated, and deadly. One mistake could end her life, but hesitation was worse. Humanity had learned to survive. Now they would learn to fight with purpose. The first coordinated attack began subtly. Smaller human and alien vessels executed synchronized feints, drawing the fortress's weapon systems to track decoys, while larger ships prepared concentrated strikes on weakened points. Every pulse of energy, every adjustment of shields, and every countermeasure was part of a larger, intricate plan. The fortress fired, precisely as expected, yet the human-alien alliance anticipated each strike, dodging, deflecting, and countering with coordination that the aliens could not fully predict. For the first time, humanity's ingenuity and adaptability were not just reactive, they were offensive. Captain Patel's heart pounded as he observed the first signs of success. One of the fortress's smaller defensive nodes had been disabled by coordinated fire and a carefully timed maneuver. It was a minor victory, but monumental in significance. Engineers cheered softly, pilots exchanged tense smiles, and strategists breathed a quiet sigh of relief. Humanity had learned from the enemy, adapted, and acted with precision. The tide was shifting imperceptibly at first, but undeniably. Dr. Myrov's hands shook as she adjusted calculations in real time. "Every strike, every maneuver, every timing adjustment matters," she said softly. "If we succeed, we can chip away at the fortress's defenses slowly, steadily, and force them to react to us instead of controlling the battle entirely." Her voice carried a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Humanity, fragile and small, had begun to push back against the invincible, and in doing so, discovered a power beyond technology. The unyielding spirit of adaptation, courage, and hope. The emotional weight of the moment struck the crew deeply. Ships that had trembled under fear during the first encounter now moved with purpose. Every human heartbeat synchronized with resolve. Pilots pushed their machines to limits, engineers recalibrated systems on the fly, and scientists provided real-time analysis to guide tactical decisions. Humanity had learned, adapted, and survived, but now humanity was thriving in the face of the impossible. Fear was still present, yes, but courage and hope outweighed it. The alien fortress responded aggressively, unleashing wave after wave of drones and energy blasts. Its systems adapted faster than ever, trying to predict human strategy. Yet the unpredictable combination of human creativity and alien allies confounded it. Defensive nodes were bypassed, shields temporarily overloaded, and critical systems were stressed beyond design. Humanity, small and fragile, was daring to disrupt perfection, to challenge invincibility with intellect, courage, and coordination. Every minor victory sparked cheers across the fleet, but the emotional stakes remained high. Every loss, every near miss, reminded humans that survival depended on discipline, heart, and ingenuity. Captain Patel issued precise commands, voice steady and firm. Focus on coordination. Every move is part of the plan. Trust your instincts, trust your allies, and remember, we are humans. Fragile, yes. Small, yes. But adaptable, clever, and courageous. That is what will make the difference. His words resonated through the fleet, steadying hands, calming minds, and reinforcing resolve. The turning tide was not guaranteed, yet humanity's determination burned brighter than ever. Lieutenant Santos executed a daring maneuver, leading a squadron of fighters through a narrow gap in the fortress's energy grid, guided by real-time calculations from Dr. Myrov and alien allies. Explosions illuminated the void, debris scattering in brilliant flashes of light. One fighter was damaged, but the mission succeeded. Critical nodes of the fortress were weakened. Humanity had done more than survive. They had struck a meaningful blow against a foe that had seemed untouchable. The emotional impact reverberated across the fleet. Engineers celebrated quiet victories, medics tended to minor injuries with pride and relief, and pilots shared tense, victorious glances across communication channels. Humanity had endured fear, learned from it, and transformed it into action. Courage alone had carried them through the first encounter. Ingenuity and cooperation had allowed them to challenge the fortress directly. The tide was indeed turning. Captain Patel looked out at the fortress, massive and imposing, yet no longer entirely impenetrable. We are small, yes, and fragile, but we are not powerless, he said softly, voice steady with pride and emotion. Every calculation, every maneuver, every act of courage brings us closer. We endure, we adapt, and we will continue to fight until the impossible bends to our determination. Deep within the alien colony, sensors detected the shift. Systems that had seemed perfect, invincible, and unyielding now faced disruption, unpredictability, and adaptation. Alien commanders recalculated, adapting to human ingenuity and the unexpected cooperation of allied forces. Humanity had transformed from prey to challenger, from observer to participant, and the first real cracks were beginning to appear in the fortress's armor. The stars stretched cold and endless, indifferent as always, yet humanity's fleet shone like a pulse of life in the void. Humans were small, fragile, and exposed, but their courage, intellect, and resilience were immense. The tide had turned, subtle at first, yet undeniable. Humanity was no longer merely surviving, it was daring to win. Captain Patel allowed himself a brief moment of pride, though vigilance remained. Humanity had endured fear, adapted strategy, and struck the first meaningful blows. The fortress remained dangerous, lethal, and vast, yet a single truth emerged. Even the strongest could be challenged by courage, ingenuity, and heart. Humanity was proving that it was more than fragile, more than small, more than passive observers. It was alive. It was clever. It was resilient. And it was beginning to change the course of a battle that had seemed impossible. The turning tide had begun. Humanity had found strength in unity, courage in adaptation, and hope in the face of overwhelming odds. The battle was far from over, but the first cracks in the fortress's perfection had appeared. Humanity's heart, ingenuity, and determination had begun to reshape the fight, and for the first time, the alien colony had to acknowledge a force it had not fully anticipated. A species small in size, yet limitless in spirit. The void was silent once more, but the fleet knew the next engagement would come. Humanity was ready. They had adapted, endured, and struck back. The tide had turned, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The fleet hovered on the edge of the Kari sector, alive with the hum of engines and the tension of anticipation. Humanity had endured the first encounters, adapted with cunning, and begun to push the tide against the alien fortress. Yet Captain Patel and his officers knew the truth that had settled in their bones. Survival alone would not be enough. The fortress remained vast, powerful, and terrifyingly precise. Humanity's courage and ingenuity had revealed cracks, but to truly challenge this force, they would need something more, something extraordinary. Deep in the bowels of the flagship, hidden from all but the most trusted, Dr. Elena Myrov and her team worked tirelessly. Weeks of research, scavenged data from ancient human archives, and desperate experiments had led them to a single discovery, an artifact of humanity's distant past, a technology so advanced and yet so neglected that most of Earth had forgotten it even existed. The device was incomplete, dormant for centuries, and untested in the realities of modern space warfare. Yet Dr. Myrov believed it could change everything. Captain Patel entered the lab quietly, observing the work with steady eyes. "Are you certain this can help?" he asked, his voice calm but edged with concern. Every human present understood the stakes. One mistake could destroy the fleet and every life aboard it. "I am," Dr. Myrov replied, hands shaking slightly as she activated the holographic schematics of the device. "It's untested in these conditions, yes. It may fail. It may even be dangerous. But it is our best chance. Our ingenuity alone may not break the fortress. This could." The crew around them exchanged uneasy glances. Fear, hope, and determination mingled in every mind. Lieutenant Maya Santos approached, voice low but steady. "If it works, it could turn the tide completely. But if it fails—" Her words hung unspoken, a heavy weight in the room. Fear had always been humanity's companion, but now it coexisted with courage, ingenuity, and an unshakable will to survive. Preparation was meticulous. Engineers rewired, recalibrated, and adapted the device to function in the harsh realities of space combat. Scientists ran simulations, anticipating every potential failure, every unexpected reaction, and every scenario that could arise. The device responded slowly at first, pulses of light and energy revealing its hidden potential. Each success, each flicker of operation, sent waves of cautious hope through the lab. Humanity had discovered its secret weapon, not just a tool, but a symbol of its ingenuity, adaptability, and audacity. Captain Patel addressed his senior officers, voice resonant with determination. "We have faced impossible odds before," he said. "We have survived where others would have fallen. Now we have a chance to strike in a way the fortress cannot predict. This weapon is untested, yes, but every victory humanity has earned has come from courage, ingenuity, and heart. We will approach with care, but we will not hesitate. We will endure, we will adapt, and we will fight with every advantage we can create." The first test in space was tense beyond measure. The fleet moved cautiously, maintaining formation while deploying the device under strict observation. Energy pulsed through its core, glowing faintly at first, then with increasing intensity. Sensors monitored every fluctuation, every reaction, every pulse. The fleet held its breath, collective hearts synchronized in fear and hope. Humanity had faced fear before, yes, but this was different. This was the unknown incarnate, a weapon of legend brought to life by courage and ingenuity. As the device activated fully, a surge of energy rippled through the void, extending toward the fortress. It was subtle at first, a whisper against the backdrop of space, but its effect was immediate. Energy shields on the fortress flickered, minor systems faltered, and even drones hesitated mid-flight. Humanity's fleet watched in awe as the once impenetrable fortress revealed vulnerabilities previously unseen. Captain Patel's eyes shone with fierce pride. Humanity had created an opening, a chance, and it had come from their own mind, heart, and daring spirit. The emotional impact rippled across the fleet. Engineers who had worked tirelessly on the device allowed themselves brief smiles. Pilots felt renewed courage in their veins, and scientists shared quiet nods of accomplishment. Humanity had relied on courage, adaptability, and cooperation to endure, but ingenuity, imagination, and perseverance had now produced something extraordinary. The fortress had been challenged in a way it had not anticipated, and hope surged where despair had once ruled. Lieutenant Santos led a squadron in the first offensive utilizing the secret weapon. The pulse emitted by the device disrupted the fortress's coordination, allowing fighters to bypass defensive grids and strike with unprecedented precision. Explosions lit the void, and the fortress, for the first time, seemed unsettled. Human hearts raced, fear still present, but overshadowed by exhilaration. Humanity had endured, adapted, and now they were beginning to dominate. Not through brute force, but through courage, intelligence, and creativity. Captain Patel watched, voice calm but firm, as reports streamed in. "This is the result of humanity's spirit," he said quietly. "Every struggle, every fear faced, every life risked, it has brought us here. We are small, fragile, yes, but clever, courageous, and capable. That is our secret weapon as much as this device. Heart, ingenuity, and determination. These are what will carry us through the impossible." The alien fortress reacted unpredictably, shields flickering, energy pulses misfiring, and defensive drones acting with hesitation. Humanity and its allies seized the moment, pressing forward with precise coordination, careful strategy, and bold maneuvers. Each successful strike was a victory, but each required courage, trust, and relentless focus. The tide had not just turned. It was rising, carrying the fleet with it, reshaping the battle that had once seemed hopeless. In the quiet moments after the first successful use of the weapon, Captain Patel and Dr. Myrov stood together, observing the effects. "We have done something incredible," she whispered, voice trembling with emotion. "We have taken the impossible and made it possible. Humanity's ingenuity, our courage, it can match even the mightiest of foes." Patel nodded, eyes scanning the fortress now showing cracks, vulnerabilities that had been invisible only hours before. "It is not just this device," he said softly. "It is us. Humanity has survived fear, adapted strategy, formed alliances, and endured impossible odds. This weapon is a tool, but our spirit is what will truly turn the tide." Deep inside the fortress, alien commanders recalculated with urgency. Systems that had once seemed flawless now faltered. Coordination broke, energy arrays misfired, and for the first time, the alien leadership recognized the threat they had underestimated. Humans, small, fragile, but clever, courageous, and relentless, wielding a power born not just of technology, but of heart, mind, and determination. The secret weapon had changed the battle. Humanity was no longer merely surviving. They were striking, adapting, and challenging the fortress with purpose and precision. Every human aboard every ship felt it. The thrill of hope, the weight of courage, and the fire of determination. Fear was still there, yes, but it had been tempered into resolve. Humanity had discovered its potential, and for the first time, the alien fortress faced a challenge it could not entirely predict. The stars remained cold and silent, indifferent as ever, yet the humans in the fleet moved with purpose, confidence, and heart. Small, fragile, and exposed, yes, but brilliant, daring, and unyielding. The secret weapon had not just disrupted the fortress. It had revealed a deeper truth. Humanity's greatest weapon was not technology, not size, not strength, but courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable will to endure against impossible odds. The tide had risen higher than ever before. Humanity's heart, mind, and spirit burned brightly across the void, illuminating the path forward. The battle was far from over, but the first real breakthrough had been achieved. Humanity had endured, adapted, and now, armed with courage, ingenuity, alliances, and a secret weapon, they were ready to challenge the fortress in ways the galaxy had never seen. And somewhere deep within the fortress, alien sensors trembled, calculations faltered, and a simple truth emerged. Humans were not what they expected. Small, fragile, and underestimated, yes, but clever, courageous, and capable of defying the impossible. The secret weapon had awakened not just a tool, but the true potential of humanity itself. The glow of the alien fortress stretched across the void, immense, unyielding, and merciless, yet humanity had begun to leave its mark. The secret weapon had shifted the balance, and for the first time, the fleet felt the surge of hope. Ships moved with precision, pilots executed daring maneuvers, and human and alien allies coordinated like a single organism. Yet even as victory seemed possible, the crew of every vessel felt the chilling truth. Courage always demanded a price. Every heartbeat, every breath, every decision carried the weight of life and death, and the universe would not grant mercy for hesitation. Captain Arjun Patel stood on the bridge of the flagship, eyes fixed on the endless field of stars, on the fortress that had once seemed invincible, now showing cracks under human ingenuity. Sensors blinked warnings, shields fluctuated, and reports of minor damages scrolled across the consoles. He knew the fleet was small, each ship a fragile container of human life, yet in every vessel burned determination, courage, and a refusal to yield. Yet the first casualty reminded everyone of the stakes. A scout vessel, carrying a crew of 5, had been caught in a concentrated energy blast while probing a weak point in the fortress. The explosion was quick, brutal, and absolute. The void swallowed the ship, leaving only flickers of debris and faint energy echoes. The silence on the bridge was heavy, almost unbearable. Engineers held their breath, pilots froze mid-maneuver, and even the aliens aiding them hesitated, recognizing the fragility of human life in contrast to the cold perfection of the fortress. Lieutenant Maya Santos gritted her teeth, fighting the surge of emotion as she watched the monitors. "They're gone," she whispered, voice trembling. "Just gone." Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them away. Fear was natural, grief unavoidable, but hesitation now could cost more lives. She clenched her hands on the controls and focused. Humanity had survived impossible odds before, and they would endure again. Captain Patel's voice cut through the tension, steady and commanding, yet carrying a human weight of sorrow. "Every life lost is a reminder of the stakes," he said softly. "Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act despite it. We endure, we fight, and we survive because those who came before gave their courage for us. We honor them by moving forward, by learning, by acting with intelligence, precision, and heart." His words were more than orders. They were a lifeline, a moral anchor for every human aboard every vessel. The fleet adjusted its tactics, careful to minimize risk, yet every attack required bravery. Pilots flew through narrow corridors of energy, risking obliteration, while engineers worked mid-battle to repair critical systems. Scientists recalibrated the secret weapon on the fly, monitoring feedback loops that could fry circuits or destabilize entire fleets. Every success was tempered with the memory of lives lost, every minor victory a reminder of the fragile edge on which humanity balanced. Dr. Elena Myrov sat at her console, her face pale under the flickering light of the displays. "We are pushing them," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "But the price, the cost is high. Every calculated risk, every maneuver, it could take lives. Yet we cannot stop. To falter now is to surrender the future." Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted energy pulses, but her eyes burned with determination. Fear was present, yes, but it had been transformed into purpose. Humanity would endure, even as courage demanded sacrifice. A squadron of fighters, led by Lieutenant Santos, engaged a wave of fortress drones that had been bypassed by the secret weapon's energy pulse. Explosions lit the darkness, debris scattered, and for a moment, it seemed as though they had succeeded. But then a secondary wave struck from an unexpected angle. One of Santos's wingmen caught off guard. The ship erupted in brilliant flames, and the void swallowed it as screams echoed faintly through the comms before dying away. The surviving pilots shook with adrenaline, grief, and fear, but they continued. Courage demanded endurance, and endurance required sacrifice. Captain Patel clenched his fists, chest tight with sorrow, rage, and resolve. "Do not falter," he commanded, voice steady despite the pain in his heart. "Every loss strengthens our resolve. Every fallen comrade reminds us why we fight. Fear is natural. Grief is natural. But hesitation is fatal. Humanity endures because we act with courage, even when the price is high. We honor the fallen by continuing the fight." His words echoed through every vessel, steadying hands, hearts, and minds. Humans were fragile, yes, and vulnerable, but they were not powerless. Courage carried them forward, even in the face of devastating loss. The alien fortress pulsed with lethal energy, responding to human strikes with greater aggression, as though angered by the audacity of a small species daring to resist. Drones attacked with precision, energy beams carved paths through space, and defensive arrays rotated in patterns designed to trap and destroy. Yet the fleet moved with synchronized brilliance, exploiting the openings created by the secret weapon, coordinated by human strategy and alien alliance. Each act of bravery, each calculated risk, pushed the tide further in humanity's favor, even as hearts ached for the fallen. Within the fleet, emotional tension ran high. Pilots grieved silently, engineers whispered prayers, and medics worked tirelessly to save every life they could. The fleet's cohesion was a delicate balance of strategy, hope, and human heart. The price of courage was heavy, yet humanity bore it with dignity, pride, and unyielding determination. Lieutenant Santos adjusted her flight path, narrowly avoiding an energy beam that shredded the void beside her. Her hands shook, her mind raced, but she pressed forward. Courage was not the absence of fear, it was action despite it. The secret weapon, pulsing at the core of the flagship, amplified these efforts. It destabilized the fortress just enough to allow precision strikes, yet every activation carried risk. One miscalculation could result in catastrophic failure, yet the human mind, heart, and ingenuity guided its use with careful precision. Every pulse was a gamble, every maneuver a test of nerve, every decision weighted with the lives of hundreds. Humanity had learned to endure fear, adapt strategy, and act with creativity, but now they had to endure the emotional cost of courage itself. Hours passed in a blur of strategy, bravery, and sacrifice. Ships engaged, retreated, and struck again, each action meticulously calculated, each risk measured against potential reward. Humanity's fleet began to notice the subtle shifts, the fortress's responses growing slower, less precise, tentative. The tide was rising, yet every victory was tempered with grief. Lives had been lost, bravery had been tested, and the void had claimed its due. Yet in every heart aboard the fleet burned determination, hope, and the unwavering spirit of humanity. Captain Patel observed the field, voice quiet but resolute. We endure because we are human. Fragile, yes. Small, yes. But courageous, clever, and relentless. Every loss, every sacrifice, every heartbeat reminds us why we fight. We honor those who gave everything by continuing to act with courage, intelligence, and heart. That is the price of survival. That is the cost of humanity's place in the galaxy. And we will pay it willingly, because we must endure. Deep within the fortress, alien sensors struggled to comprehend the resilience of humans. They had anticipated fear, hesitation, and retreat, but humanity had transformed fear into action, grief into resolve, and courage into precise, relentless strategy. The fortress remained vast and lethal, yet cracks had begun to form, not just in its defenses, but in the certainty that humans were weak. The small, fragile species had learned the true cost of courage, and they paid it willingly, with heart, ingenuity, and determination. As the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent and silent, humanity's fleet pressed forward. Every pilot, engineer, medic, and scientist carried the weight of loss and the light of hope. Courage demanded sacrifice, but sacrifice fueled determination. Humanity had endured fear, embraced strategy, formed alliances, wielded a secret weapon, and now continued to fight, knowing the cost of each action, but refusing to falter. The price of courage was high, yet humanity bore it proudly, proving to the galaxy, and to themselves, that even the smallest species, vulnerable and fragile, could endure, adapt, and rise above fear. The turning tide had begun, yet every victory reminded them that survival demanded heart, bravery, and the willingness to pay the ultimate price. Humanity's spirit burned brightly across the void, small in size, fragile in body, yet infinite in courage and determination. The fleet hovered near the edges of the Kari sector, battered, weary, but alive. Humanity had endured impossible odds, adapted to a seemingly invincible fortress, and even wielded a secret weapon that had disrupted the enemy's defenses. Yet the battle was far from over. Every pilot, engineer, and strategist aboard every ship knew the truth. They were still small, fragile, and outnumbered. Courage had carried them this far, ingenuity had given them advantage, but victory remained uncertain. Fear still lingered in every heartbeat, grief whispered in every shadow, and tension coiled around every decision. Then, as if the stars themselves had shifted in humanity's favor, sensors on the flagship detected an anomaly. A distant surge of energy, vast, precise, and undeniably powerful. The readings were unmistakable. Ships of immense size, far beyond anything Earth had ever built, were moving into position, emerging from hidden regions of space where humans had thought none could survive. These were Earth's mightiest vessels, ancient and advanced, maintained in secret, shielded from the galaxy until now. Their sheer mass and energy signature caused tremors through the fleet's systems. The human crews stared in awe, realizing that reinforcement had arrived. They were no longer alone. Captain Arjun Patel felt his chest tighten as he watched the massive warships approach. His mind raced with both relief and responsibility. This changes everything, he whispered to Dr. Elena Myrov, who stood beside him, eyes wide with awe. We have endured, adapted, and fought, he said, voice steady but filled with emotion. We have survived through courage and ingenuity, but now the might of Earth itself joins us. The fortress will no longer underestimate us. Myrov nodded silently, her heart swelling with pride and anticipation. Humanity's strength had been underestimated, and now the full measure of their resilience and power was revealed. The human reinforcements moved with deliberate precision, shielded and armed with technology that dwarfed even the secret weapon. Ships glimmered with energy fields that could withstand multiple strikes, weapons that could deliver devastating blows with pinpoint accuracy, and AI-assisted systems designed to complement human intuition. Every pilot, engineer, and commander aboard the existing fleet felt a surge of hope, determination, and renewed courage. Humanity, small and fragile only hours before, now carried the weight of Earth's might. Captain Patel addressed the fleet over the comms, voice carrying the resonance of resolve and inspiration. Today, we face a fortress that has terrorized the sector for centuries. We have endured, adapted, and struck where we could. We have paid the price of courage, and we have survived despite impossible odds. Now, the might of Earth stands with us. Fear still exists, grief still lingers, but hope and determination burn brighter than ever. Humanity is no longer fragile. We are united, we are strong, and we will endure. Every ship, every crew member, every heart across the fleet felt the weight of those words. Courage had been tested, sacrifice had been demanded, and now the tide had risen higher than ever before. The first coordinated attack began immediately. Humanity's original fleet moved in tandem with Earth's mightiest vessels, striking with precision and synchronized brilliance. The secret weapon's energy pulses guided attacks, alien allies complemented maneuvers, and the new ships delivered devastating blows to the fortress's defenses. The enemy was powerful, yes, and adaptive, yet they were now facing a force they had not anticipated. Not just humans, but the full strength of Earth's ingenuity, courage, and determination brought to bear in a perfect storm of strategy and heart. Pilots soared through narrow corridors of enemy fire, executing daring maneuvers that seemed impossible just days before. Ships avoided energy blasts that had once seemed unavoidable, guided by advanced AI systems and instinct honed through countless skirmishes. Engineers worked tirelessly, reinforcing shields, repairing hulls, and fine-tuning weapons in real time. Every human aboard every ship understood the stakes. Lives could be lost, victories were fragile, yet the chance to strike decisively had never been higher. Lieutenant Maya Santos led a squadron through a weakened segment of the fortress, flanked by Earth's colossal warships. The combination of speed, precision, and overwhelming firepower created openings previously impossible to exploit. Explosions illuminated the void, metal and energy arcs scattering across the stars like fireworks. Pilots cheered through comms, engineers exchanged relieved smiles, and scientists watched anxiously as each strike reshaped the battlefield. Humanity's courage had endured, but now, combined with Earth's might, it became unstoppable. Yet even as hope surged, the emotional weight remained. Every victory reminded humans of the sacrifices made, the lives lost in the first encounter, the squadron destroyed during the price of courage, the narrow escapes that had defined the turning tide. Captain Patel understood this, and he spoke to his officers quietly, with both pride and solemnity. We fight not because we are fearless, but because we are human. Fragile, yes, small, yes, but clever, courageous, and capable of endurance. Every loss reminds us of the stakes. Every victory reminds us of what we fight for. Today, humanity is alive in the hearts of every soldier, every scientist, every pilot. And we will prove that no fortress is too strong for determination guided by courage and unity. The alien fortress, vast and lethal, now faced a challenge beyond calculation. Energy arrays misfired, drones faltered, and defensive systems struggled to adapt to the simultaneous assaults. It had anticipated human cunning, but it had not accounted for the might of Earth itself, nor the unpredictability of a species willing to endure every test, pay every price, and act with heart, ingenuity, and unwavering resolve. For the first time, the fortress sensed genuine vulnerability, and even in its precision, hesitation began to creep in. Across the fleet, emotions ran high. Tears mingled with adrenaline, fear blended with exhilaration, grief interwoven with hope. Humanity had endured impossible odds, adapted strategy, harnessed alliances, wielded a secret weapon, and now faced the fortress with unparalleled strength. Every human heartbeat seemed to echo with pride and courage, every action a testament to survival, ingenuity, and the indomitable spirit of a species that refused to yield. Captain Patel gazed at the alien fortress, vast and dark, yet showing the first real cracks in its impervious exterior. "We are no longer alone," he whispered to Dr. Myrov, who stood beside him. "We are not fragile. We are not powerless. Today, the might of Earth stands with humanity, and together we will endure. We will strike, we will fight, and we will prevail." The stars stretched endlessly, indifferent and silent, yet humanity's fleet pulsed with life, courage, and determination. Small, fragile, and vulnerable, yes, but brilliant, daring, and unyielding. Earth's mightiest force had arrived, transforming hope into action, fear into courage, and strategy into victory. Humanity was no longer underestimated. Humanity was no longer alone. And the alien fortress would soon understand that even the smallest species could rise to the challenge when heart, ingenuity, and the full strength of Earth joined the fight. The tide had shifted, far beyond what the fortress had anticipated. Humanity's spirit burned brighter than ever across the void, unbroken, unyielding, and unstoppable. The stage was set for the final assault, the moment where courage, ingenuity, and the might of Earth would collide with the fortress in a battle that would define the galaxy. Humanity would endure. Humanity would prevail. Humanity would rise. The fleet hovered at the edge of the Kari sector, poised on the brink of history. Humanity's courage had endured. Ingenuity had triumphed over impossible odds. Alliances had been forged, and Earth's mightiest force had arrived. Yet the alien fortress remained vast, lethal, and calculating, an embodiment of millennia of precision and power. Every pilot, every engineer, every strategist knew this. The final assault would demand everything: skill, courage, intelligence, and heart. There could be no hesitation. Every second mattered, every decision carried the weight of life, and every heartbeat held the fragile balance between victory and annihilation. Captain Arjun Patel stood on the bridge of the flagship, eyes scanning the fortress, his mind running through every calculation, every maneuver, every possible outcome. The secret weapon pulsed at the fleet's core, synchronized with alien allies and Earth's mighty vessels, while human ingenuity guided each move. The fleet had endured the impossible before, but this would be the ultimate test. The final assault would not merely be survival, it would be the moment humanity proved its place in the galaxy. Dr. Elena Myrov's hands flew across the holographic controls, her eyes alight with determination. "The fortress has weaknesses," she whispered, voice steady despite the tension. "Shields can be disrupted, weapons overloaded, coordination broken. Every strike must be precise. Every move must count. One mistake, and hundreds of lives are lost." The room felt alive with energy, tension, and fear, yet under it all burned a fierce hope. Humanity had endured fear, pain, and loss, and now they were ready to strike with everything they had. The first wave of attack began. Humanity's fighters darted through narrow corridors of enemy fire, weaving between energy beams and debris, striking critical nodes identified by Dr. Myrov and the alien allies. Earth's colossal warships unleashed torrents of energy, tearing through defensive arrays, while the secret weapon pulsed in perfect synchronization, destabilizing the fortress's core systems. The void lit with explosions, arcs of energy, and fragments of destroyed drones. A symphony of courage, ingenuity, and desperate determination. Lieutenant Maya Santos led her squadron through the chaos, heart pounding, hands steady on the controls. She glanced at the hull integrity, the shields, and the enemy fire patterns, adjusting every maneuver to save her team. One fighter was hit, a burst of fire consuming the vessel before it could evade. Her squadron cried out over comms, grief mixed with adrenaline and determination. Fear had been their companion, yes, but courage demanded action. They pressed forward. Humanity could not falter now. Every life lost weight on them, yet every life saved, every successful strike, carried the promise of survival and triumph. Captain Patel issued orders with precision, voice calm yet commanding. "Focus on coordination. Trust your instincts. Trust your allies. Every strike, every maneuver, every decision counts. We fight not because we are fearless, but because we are human. Small, fragile, yes, but clever, courageous, and unyielding. The fortress is vast, but our will is stronger. Humanity endures. Humanity rises. Humanity prevails." His words resonated across the fleet, steadying hands, hearts, and minds. The human spirit burned brighter than ever, entwined with the might of Earth and the precision of allies who had fought alongside them. The fortress reacted, unleashing waves of drones, torrents of energy, and defensive arrays that shifted unpredictably. Yet the combined fleet, guided by strategy, ingenuity, and the secret weapon, adapted with unmatched precision. Every human pilot, every alien ally, and every Earth vessel moved as one organism, exploiting every weakness, striking at every opening, and refusing to yield to fear. Explosions rocked the void. Hulls flared and shields flared in response. Yet the fleet pressed forward relentlessly. Humanity was no longer fragile. Humanity was a force. Small, yes, but unstoppable in determination and heart. Dr. Myrov monitored the secret weapon as it reached peak output, synchronized with the fleet's attacks. Her face was pale, lips pressed together, hands steady but trembling under the weight of responsibility. "If we succeed, this will end the fortress's dominance," she whispered. "If we fail, we lose everything. Every life, every hope, every dream." She inhaled sharply, heart racing. Courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was action despite fear. Humanity had endured this lesson again and again, and now it would define the final assault. The emotional toll of the battle was immense. Ships fell, crew members were lost, and every human heartbeat carried grief and determination. Yet the fleet pressed on, refusing to falter, adapting with every attack, and striking with precision born of courage and ingenuity. Lieutenant Santos watched as another fighter was destroyed, grief mingling with adrenaline and resolve. "We fight for them," she whispered to her squadron, voice trembling. "For those we've lost, for those who endure. Humanity will not yield. Not now, not ever." Captain Patel coordinated the fleet with calm authority, issuing precise commands, timing strikes to perfection. Earth's mighty vessels delivered crushing blows to defensive hubs, while human and alien pilots executed daring maneuvers to disable weapons arrays. The secret weapon pulsed rhythmically, disrupting energy flow and creating openings where none had existed before. Each success, however small, amplified courage, renewed hope, and hardened resolve. Humanity had endured fear, faced loss, adapted strategy, formed alliances, and now pressed the assault with unmatched determination. Inside the fortress, the alien command center flickered with chaos. Energy grids misfired, drones faltered, and systems that had once been flawless now struggled to respond. They had anticipated cunning, strategy, and alliance, but never the unyielding courage and adaptability of humans, small, fragile, and yet relentless. Humanity struck not with brute force alone, but with precision, intelligence, heart, and the relentless refusal to surrender. Hours passed in a blur of motion, energy, and heart. Pilots weaved through fire, engineers repaired critical systems mid-battle, and scientists adjusted the secret weapon with exacting care. The fortress weakened under the sustained, coordinated assault. Every strike brought the fleet closer to victory, yet every move carried immense risk. Humanity had paid a price to endure, and now it was paying a price to conquer. Courage demanded sacrifice, yet each act of bravery illuminated the void like a pulse of life, proving that determination and ingenuity could challenge even the mightiest opponent. Finally, the decisive strike approached. Captain Patel, flanked by Dr. Myrov and his senior officers, coordinated the final assault. Ships moved with synchronized precision, secret weapon pulsing at peak output, and every maneuver designed to exploit weaknesses discovered through courage, ingenuity, and relentless observation. The fortress shuddered under the combined might of humans, allies, and Earth's vessels. Shields faltered, energy arrays misfired, and critical systems began to fail. Humanity had endured fear, pain, loss, and uncertainty, and now it struck with purpose, precision, and heart. Lieutenant Santos led her squadron through the last corridor of defensive drones, weaving between energy blasts, heart hammering, tears streaked with sweat and determination. "For humanity!" she cried over comms. Pilots echoed her shout, every voice carrying grief, courage, and hope. Ships fired, lasers tore through defenses, and the fortress, vast and calculating, finally faltered. Humanity had endured the impossible, adapted with brilliance, and now claimed victory with courage and heart. Captain Patel watched the fortress destabilize, systems failing, energy arrays collapsing. "We endure," he whispered, voice filled with emotion. "We adapt, we fight, and we prevail. Humanity is small, fragile, yes, but clever, courageous, and relentless. Today we rise." Across the fleet, humans cheered, cried, and embraced the triumph born from fear, sacrifice, and courage. Allies celebrated with them, understanding the magnitude of what had been achieved. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged victorious. The stars stretched endlessly, indifferent and silent, yet humanity's fleet burned with life, courage, and heart. Small, fragile, and vulnerable, yes, but brilliant, daring, and unyielding. The fortress was defeated, not by overwhelming power alone, but by the ingenuity, courage, and determination of a species that refused to surrender. Humanity had endured fear, paid the price of courage, wielded alliances, and struck with precision, and now the galaxy would see them differently. Humanity had risen. Humanity had endured. Humanity had prevailed. The void was quiet now. Silence stretched endlessly across the Kari sector, broken only by the hum of engines and the soft pulse of energy from the fleet. The alien fortress, once vast, impenetrable, and terrifying, lay crippled, its defenses shattered, its systems failing under the sustained ingenuity, courage, and precision of humanity and its allies. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, witnessing a small species, fragile, clever, and indomitable, claim victory where the odds had seemed insurmountable. Captain Arjun Patel stood on the bridge of the flagship, eyes scanning the remains of the fortress, chest heavy with exhaustion, grief, and an overwhelming sense of pride. Humanity had endured fear, pain, loss, and uncertainty. Humanity had risen. Humanity had prevailed. Around him, the fleet buzzed with subdued celebration. Pilots who had danced on the edge of annihilation hugged comrades, tears streaming freely down their faces. Engineers wiped sweat and grime from their foreheads, their hands still trembling from hours of emergency repairs and nerve-wracking calculations. Scientists monitored the secret weapon's final output, expressions softening from the intensity of duty into quiet relief. Every human aboard every ship carried the weight of the battle, every loss endured, every act of courage, and every life sacrificed. And yet the joy of survival, of triumph, glowed brighter than any star. Lieutenant Maya Santos floated through the corridors of her fighter squadron, visiting crews, checking on those who survived, and offering quiet words of encouragement. She paused at a shattered console, recalling the moments when her wingmen had been lost, when explosions had consumed the void around her, when hope had flickered like a fragile candle in the storm of war. She bowed her head for a moment, honoring them silently, whispering, "Your courage carried us through. We did not fail. We endured because of you." Her voice trembled, and yet behind the grief was the unshakable certainty that humanity had done what it had set out to achieve. Courage had carried them forward, sacrifice had paved the way, and ingenuity had turned despair into victory. Dr. Elena Myrov stood beside Captain Patel, eyes bright with pride and tears threatening to fall. "We've done it," she whispered, voice soft but steady. "We've faced the impossible, paid every price, endured every test, and we've emerged victorious. Humanity has shown the galaxy what we are capable of. Not because of strength alone, not because of numbers, but because of heart, ingenuity, and courage. That is our legacy." Her gaze shifted to the fleet, to the surviving allies, to the flickering remnants of the fortress, and she realized that the battle was more than survival. It was a declaration. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were small, yes, and fragile, yes, but resilient, daring, clever, and relentless. Captain Patel inhaled slowly, feeling the weight of his responsibility and the relief of victory settle together. "This is more than a battle won," he said, voice resonant across the bridge. "This is proof. Proof that humanity endures, that we are capable of rising to any challenge, that courage and ingenuity can overcome even the most overwhelming odds. The fallen live on in every action we take. The brave who sacrificed everything have paved the way for the living to continue, to thrive, to explore, and to claim their place in the galaxy." Every officer on the bridge felt the magnitude of the moment. Humanity's victory was not just military. It was moral, emotional, and symbolic. As the fleet moved cautiously through the debris of the fortress, rescuing any survivors, recovering data, and stabilizing their formations, Earth's mightiest vessels stood sentinel, their massive presence a reminder of power, endurance, and unity. Humans and their allies worked together seamlessly, a testament to cooperation, mutual respect, and the unyielding will to endure. Each minor success, each life saved, each fragment of the fortress secured was a tribute to the courage and heart that had carried them through the battle. Humanity had endured fear, paid the cost of courage, and now claimed not just victory, but legacy. Lieutenant Santos and her squadron took a quiet moment, hovering above a shattered drone control hub. The fires of destruction flickered in the distance, yet the void no longer felt hostile. It was a space of triumph, of endurance, and of potential. "We made it," she whispered. "We survived. We endured. We proved that we are more than small, more than fragile. We are clever. We are brave. We are human." Her squadron echoed her sentiment over comms, voices trembling with grief, pride, and joy. Humanity had faced annihilation, and now it stood victorious. Captain Patel gazed at the remnants of the alien fortress, its systems failing, its weapons offline, and its invincible facade shattered. The battle had been brutal, but humanity had endured. Each ship, each life, each sacrifice had contributed to a victory born of courage, ingenuity, and heart. The galaxy will remember this day, he said quietly, voice carrying pride and solemnity. We endured fear, faced impossible odds, and paid the price of courage. We have won, not by brute force alone, but by heart, intelligence, and unbreakable determination. This is our legacy. We are human, and humanity endures. The stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to triumph or loss, yet humanity's fleet moved with purpose, alive with life, courage, and hope. Small, fragile, and vulnerable, yes, but brilliant, daring, and unyielding. The fortress lay in ruins, the enemy subdued, yet the victory was more than conquest. It was proof that humanity could endure fear, adapt strategy, wield courage, and act with heart against impossible odds. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a species small in size, fragile in body, yet limitless in spirit. Captain Patel allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection, eyes scanning the surviving fleet. Engineers worked tirelessly, pilots shared subdued celebrations, and scientists monitored the remnants of the secret weapon. Humanity had endured fear, survived the impossible, and now stood ready to claim its place in the stars. We are small, he said softly, almost to himself. Fragile, yes, but clever, courageous, and unyielding. Today we rise. Today humanity proves that no odds are too great, no fortress too strong, and no challenge too impossible. Our legacy begins now. And in the endless void, where silence had once ruled, the pulse of humanity's fleet shone like a beacon, a testament to courage, sacrifice, ingenuity, and heart. Humanity had endured. Humanity had adapted. Humanity had prevailed. And the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The small, fragile species had risen, leaving behind a legacy of unyielding spirit, brilliant ingenuity, and heart that would echo across the stars for generations to come.